Welcome to the last part, part 5 of chapter 5 from the Modern Indian History lecture series of the Bipin Chandra. Please go through this lecture till the end. In this lecture, we will going to discuss humanitarian measures and the uh, modern education that started to spread from the Britishers, and that was the one of the critical point where people started to think more radically, and those people who participated, who learned through these measures, through those educations, they took important role. They made their important role in the freedom of the country, freedom struggles for the country. Okay, they had an important role. So those things we'll discuss in the coming chapters, but right now it is just a brief that is given into this chapter as per the book that we are following. Okay, so humanitarian methods. So humanitarian measures on the, it was like there were there were many ill practices that were being followed. Like sati was there, child marriage was there, and polygamy was there. Where polygamy was there, single men having multiple women and all. Okay, so these kind of practices were being followed. So on the basis of these humanity, they started to make laws. They banned those practices. Let us that sati, which was main role done by the Raja Ram Mohan Roy. And on the humanitarian measures, they were taken by the Britishers to stop such things that were practices on the traditional ground. And these things were not the first time attempted by the Britishers. It was even done by the during the Akbar, Aurangzeb, and also they also tried to ban those practices, but they failed on those things. But by the Britishers, they were successful in stopping those practices, which is the sati, where the main role, the crucial role was performed by the Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay. So what is that? We'll see. Official British efforts on reforming India was merely fruitful. Their biggest achievement was the outlining of practices of sati in 1829, when William Bentinck made it a crime to associate in any way with the burning of a widow on her husband's pyre. Okay. Earlier, British were afraid of raising on voice for such practices because Orthodox Indians do not want to touch their religions and the practices. But they took their hard keen and made this sati practice as an illegal one. It was only after the Raja Ram Mohan Rai and the enlightened Indians who supported against this practice, British raised their voice and stop this practice. So many Indian rulers in the past, including Akbar and the Aurangzeb, the Peshwas, the Raja Jai Singh of Jaipur, had made unsuccessful attempts. What type of unsuccessful attempts to suppress this evil practice? Female infanticide, killing of the female child, and all were being practiced. So these kind of restrictions the government tried to impose. So female infanticide had prevailed among some of the Rajput clans and other castes due to the difficulties in earning. Paucity of young men died, and the dowry. So dowry was one of the key factor of killing of female child at that time. Okay, so these were one of the key things that were happening during the period. So regulation prohibiting of infanticide had been passed in 1795 and 1802, but they were sternly enforced only by the Bentinck and the Hardinge. So in 1856, the government of India passed an act enabling Hindu widows to remarriage. Just note down these points. What are the things that were made changes? Hindu widows remarriage, child infanticide was prohibited. The government acted after, like, the Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. We will have a separate section for it in the coming chapter about the Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and other reformers had in support of their measures. The immediate effect of the action was negligible, but they took their steps regarding it. So Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar strongly protested against the polygamy, child marriage, and favored widow remarriage and women's education in India. who favored these kind of questions may come in the MCQ. So Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar kind of things, so women's education in India. So because of his contribution towards such issues, the Widow Remarriage Act was passed in 1856, making the widow marriage as a legal one. And Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar worked towards the providing the education to women. So this was all done by the foreign government, and it was not possible to do more than that foreign land by them, because like what does it mean? These all things were done by the Britishers. Okay, what Britishers? Who were Britishers? Britishers were foreigners. Where they were making changes by the Britishers, it was a foreign land to them. It was a foreign land to them. Which is a foreign land? India. India is a foreign land to them. Why they have to make such huge effort? So these kind of practices just they make like as a laws kind of things. It should not be practiced and all. But sati was strictly prohibited, and other things were just a merely a law kind of things were there. But they made a good attempt regarding the prohibition of such acts on the basis of humanitarian grounds. The spirit of modern education, that's what practice. So in the spirit of modern education, the British followed something called downward filtration theory. What is downward filtration theory? It is like, I will teach upper class people. How many different classes were there? Upper, middle, and lower. Okay, now upper people are is in like good condition. Okay, it is just a comfortable kind of condition. Let's come, suppose better kind of condition. Lower is like worse kind of condition. Okay, now British took downward steps where they will educate this section of people. Okay, this section, when they educate these people, this section will take responsibility, and this section will start teaching the people of middle and lower class. So that's what something called downward filtration. The downward filtration they followed. Okay, so what was it? The British were more successful in introduction of modern education. Of course, the spread of modern education was not solely on the work of government. The Christian missionaries and a large number of enlightened Indians also played an important part. So they introduced science and all also in this. So there were only, yes, there were less medical colleges. There were three medical colleges, one in Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta. I think these were the three places where the medical education was there. That we'll see in this lecture only. Okay, so but they made a good attempt in the educating Indians on the modern ground. So the Indians were taught to help the administration of law in the courts of company. They set up Muslim law related subjects at Calcutta Madrasa and Sanskrit College at Varanasi. See, two different colleges, that Sanskrit College, Varanasi, Banaras, and all Banaras Hindu University, and all we'll see in the coming sessions. Okay, so a humble beginning was made in 1830 to teach the Indians related to science and technology, with including the Christian missionaries thought. Why Christian missionaries thought? They thought this is the true religion, and further they thought like, if they teach those things to the people, they will destroy their religion, and those people, again the downward filtration will happen, where they will teach those thoughts to the lower strata of the society, and they will also learn, they will come to know about Christian thought, and they will accept Christian religion. Okay, so they believed it would destroy their, sorry, they believed that they would destroy their faith in their religion and would adopt Christianity. Further, they believed Western education would be the best remedy of the social, economic, and political ill of the country. They thought like the Western education is superior to them, is superior. Okay, so we have to impose that thought only to make those Indian people rise above. Okay, through social, economic, and political mindset. So there were lots of controversies happening during the period regarding the language medium of teaching as well. So the language that they followed was English. Okay. And if they teach English language to the lower strata, they would not understand. Okay, that's why that was one of the main reason that they follow downward filtration, that they will teach upper class people, and those upper class people will take the responsibility and will teach the lower strata of the society. So in 1835, government of India decided to devote the limited resource it was willing to spare to the teaching of western science and literature through the medium of English language alone. It was to the upper class. It was to the upper class people. So the Lord Macaulay views ignored the India's past achievement in science and thought it forces on Western education, science and technology to the superior of the existing Indian knowledge. Further, his stand proved to be true because at that time India was mainly a superstitious based country. So that was a good thing for the Indian society, and backward, they were backward in the technology with the West, because if you see, people industrialization was not at high peak in the India. They were all based upon the public based. So in the agriculture also, most of the people were working in the agriculture. Hand spinning, industrialization was there. It was not based on machinery. So rational thinking, science and technology, India was completely lacking behind at that time. Okay, so these thoughts were supported by Raja Ram Mohan Roy as well, and few rational Indian as well. Who is Raja Ram Mohan? We have already discussed about that. He was the founder of Brahmo Samaj in Calcutta. He supported the idea of a spread of knowledge of Western education in the country and bring about greater freedom, equality of women. As a result of his efforts, the practice of sati was banned in 1829. Further, prominent Indian of the 19th and 20th century knew that the salvation of country lay in going forward and not looking backward. So what does it mean? It means like they knew that we should not go with the mindset that nobody should touch our religion and we should practice all the old practices. So it is, so they understood that we should not follow those things. We should not look behind, and we should move forward. We should accept the science and technology and rational thinking, modern education, to make our society to improve forward and prosperous. So the government of India opened schools and colleges in Bengal in English medium. It opened few English schools and colleges instead of mainly elementary schools. So instead of investing lots of money in the elementary school at the lower strata, they invested on the top colleges, so that these top colleges will teach the upper strata of the people, and those upper strata people will teach the lower strata of the society in their own medium language. So this policy was later sharply criticized for ignoring the masses. It was because you are not making elementary school, you are actually making the colleges. But the reason behind was that, just now I have explained, that it was that the government did not want to spend more with an insignificant sum of money to just in the elementary school. What will happen? Why? What does it mean? Let us suppose if government is spending lots of money, good amount of money in the elementary school, these elementary school result will give after 10 years. These are the lower people, these are the children, and also they are not going to work, they are not going to benefit them. So they thought, why should we invest our money in the elementary teaching? We, rather than investing our money in the elementary school, we should invest our money in the higher teaching, higher level of the schools and all, so that the people to whom we will give knowledge, will educate them, they will directly come and they will directly work with us. Okay, so instead of, if lower state of the people want to be educated, these higher educated people will take the responsibility and they will teach to the elementary, they will teach at elementary level. Okay, so they called downward filtration theory. Since the allocated fund could educate only a handful of Indians, it was decided to spend the money of educating the few person from the upper and the middle class who were expected to assume the task of educating the mass and spreading the modern ideas to them. So education and the modern idea were thus supposed to filter or radiate downward from the upper classes. So this policy continued until the very end of the British rule. The thing mainly happened through a political parties, the press, the pamphlets, the literature, and the public platform, not through the schools and textbooks. So it was not like they started to run. See, from the higher school, if you have been learned, if you are educated, so it's difficult to open a school and you will go to you will go teaching by village and village. So it was difficult. So it was not like that they started a school kind of thing. So they followed they through press, through pamphlets, through textbooks, kind of things, through newspapers, through magazines, through political parties and all. They started to teach the lower strata. That was the medium, not through schools and some school textbook kind of things. So the educated Indians or the intellectually spread ideas of democracy. Remember the teachings, whatever we are discussing, it's not like that mathematical teachings and all. Okay, it was like a right to equality, right to fraternity, and some little bit technological and scientific aspects was there, but not at that extent. So the kind of ideas that were being spread through those educated Indian people was based upon their democracy, nationalism, anti-violence, social, economic equality, justice among the rural and urban classes. So if it actually goes with the real intention of the British through downward filtration theory, then the content of education was designed to serve colonialism. Okay, but this was not the case when the radical people came. Few radical Indians, like, see what happened. Those Indian people, those radical Indians were learned by whom? British. And they understood that Indians are backward. Okay. Now, those radical people will see in the coming sessions, they will start uh, they will start to support colonialism. They will start to support colonialism. Why? They thought that these British will at the end will make the Indian people to emerge at the higher strata, and that's why most of the radical people started to support the British colonialism. But later, few few will realize that this is not going to help, and whatever the Britishers were doing, they were just doing for their own interest. And at the end, we'll see that they will join the freedom struggle and will go against the British. But at the starting, they were completely in the support of British colonialism. Okay. So, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, the famous Bengali novelist, became in 1858 one of the first to graduate at Calcutta University. The government aim through education was to fill the cheap subordinate administration post by Indians. Actually, it was too costly and perhaps not even possible to import enough Englishmen for this purpose. So another motive of British behind education policy that educated Indians would help in expanding the market for British manufacturing in India. Further, British looked this as a proud of them educating Indians. Okay. Thus, British wanted to use modern education to strengthen the foundation of their political authority to the country. So, the traditional Indian system of education gradually withheld away due to the lack of official support. People started to abandon the traditional schools and joined the English medium schools because they started to think like, and that was true also. Like, it was more radical, it was more scientific based and all. Okay, so people also started to abolish those traditional school and started to join those high British Western education based thoughts of the school. So the emphasis of the English as a medium of education prevented the spread of education to the masses. Further, fees were costly. Thus, the lower strata of the people were unable to join those schools, and the upper and the middle classes were able to join those schools, and they were learning. So, a major issue was the neglect of the education of the girl, for which no funds were allocated. Why? Because Indian people takes girls in more conservative manner. Right now we are in the modern society and the girls are coming outside and doing the jobs, but during those period, females were treated with the more conservative thoughts. Okay, so they did not want to hurt those Indian sentiments. The British were fearing for that. Thus, that was one of the key reasons that they were not making any policies in the favor of education of the girls. So this was partly due to the government anxiety not to hurt the susceptible of the Orthodox Indians. Further, female education was lagged behind any immediate use in the eyes of foreign officials. Why? Even if they educate female, Indian people will not make female to come outside and do job. Okay, So at the end they are not going to benefit Britishers. Okay, they were not going to meet Britishers. So that was one of the key reason to not educate or not to make any policies in the favor of education for the female. So the company's administration also neglected scientific and technical education. Scientific and technical education, like they following democracy, equality, fraternity, that kind of things, where they're not practically on the base of scientists, Newton's laws and all. So by 1857, there were only three medical colleges in the country at Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. There was only one good engineering college at Roorkee to impart technical education, and even this was open only to the Europeans and the Eurasians. So this is the end of chapter 5, and in the coming lectures, we'll take the chapter 6, social and cultural awakening in the first half of the 19th century. I hope you have liked this video. Please like and subscribe. This is a new channel, and we need your support. If you have any doubts, please feel free to give your comment in the comment section, or feel free to connect with me on the Twitter handle Geetevrat. Thank you.